All right, as I stated, we have special guest on the show today, Joel Patzke, owner of TrueWorks Roofing. So, Joel, thanks for being on the show, man.
Absolutely, Dylan. Thank you for having me. Really excited about this.
Yeah, same here. And it was cool when we talked offline because you really have a unique story. You started a roofing company in the midst of COVID-19.
What better time, right? Yeah, global lockdown pandemic to say, let's go all in and start a roofing company. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think this is going to be an interesting episode, and you have a neat backstory too. So, for all of our listeners, let's just talk a little bit about your background into roofing. I mean, now you're the owner, CEO of TrueWorks Roofing. You guys are rocking and rolling. Your phone is ringing off the hook. Well, let's talk about your background. How did you get into roofing, and what led up to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So, background comes in. My intro to roofing was through a gentleman that I hired in my previous experience. So, I was in restaurant bar business. I hire a guy. He is a my bar back essentially. He's down on his luck. He's living on my couch, and the guy tells us he wants to start a roofing company one day. He's a fantastic salesman, can sell anything to anybody, and we just believed him. We were like, I don't know anything about roofing, man, but I believe you're going to do it. And sure enough, he does. Just cold knocking, being really aggressive, and hiring a group of guys. He hired a bunch of car salesmen, and they storm chased. And he brought me in, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners will understand. And this is kind of old school. It's a little bit of where some of the roofing industry was and still is, but I learned everything the wrong way and how to do everything kind of the wrong way. I mean, our pitch was, hey, don't pay your deductible. I'm going to get you a brand new roof, right? And I didn't know that was bad. I didn't know it was wrong or there was anything bad about it. We thought we were doing a good service for the homeowner, making good money. And, come to find out there's a better way, right? A better way to do business and legal and everything. and that actually, if you're a good salesperson, you don't have to do that. And you can create value in a better price, and you don't have to undercut in this race to the bottom. But we didn't know. So that's just how I was taught and learned everything the wrong way. He built a big company and didn't know how to run a company. Great salesperson, not a good business guy, and used the company card kind of as his personal ATM. Had some vices that, when you have $1 million sitting in your account, you really have to have control over your vices. I mean, you can't have gambling problems. You can't have alcohol problems. You can't have problems, with drugs or whatever. And I'm not against any. I mean, I like to have fun, man. I can go to a casino and play a little blackjack and have some drinks, but not with company funds, right? That ain't my money. And we were kind of chasing insurance checks all the time, if that makes sense. Um, so you get one, next day the guy's got a new truck or a new boat, and then you get another deal, and then that pays for that guy's roof, and you're always playing catch up, playing chase. And he got in trouble that way and ended up where he wasn't able to pay all his shingle bills. And we're doing a lot of volume, so it's sad that he put himself in that circumstance because it was unnecessary. Um, so he sells his company. He basically gets rescued out of debt. So a guy buys his debt essentially. And I had a buddy who worked there who didn't like the guy taking over. We go start a new thing, new startup. And we were doing more custom, high end stuff. I did several subdivisions. And that's when I really started doing everything in the process. So I'm handling every deal from cradle to grave, as you'd say. And he was never even meeting my homeowners. So I'm going to them. I mean, I'm just turning in final back end checks. And he's like, who's this for? Didn't even know what kind of deals. And so it got to the point where I'm doing 100% of the deals, and you know, you just, it gets your mind to thinking, you know what I mean? Like, man, I could do this on my own. And, you know, it's one of those, like, you never want to, I don't think it's bad to teach somebody how to do everything. And you have that owner that could be insecure and say, oh, I'm not going to teach them how to do this, because then they might want to go start their own thing. Where I think you want to be is, you're going to have stars. You're going to have guys who are just go-getters and guys who shine and they're a little bit above the rest of the crowd. You might want to say, I think instead of holding that guy back, you want to identify that guy and say, I want to invest in you. You're going to be bigger than this. Maybe you're going to start your own TrueWorks. Let's do TrueWorks Austin. Let's do TrueWorks Waco. I'm going to invest in you. We're going to do this together. So that now, instead of holding that guy back, not teaching that guy everything because you're afraid he's going to go start his own business, that guy's going to do it that anyways. You know, now you're going to have a piece of that, his success, and you can share in it. And that's how I want to be. And I want to identify guys like that who are working with me and be that kind of owner and that kind of boss, not insecure about just it. It is what it is, man. I want guys like that working for me. You know, I want guys that have that drive and that ambition to go want to do their own thing. And I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to teach them this because I'm scared, you know, that they're going to. But anyways, this guy wasn't like that. Wasn't a great person. Hard to get paid. Wouldn't pay me on time. I'm
Oh
sure
man, that's a biggie right there.
you know, and I'm sure you have a lot of guys probably listen to the show. They'd be like, I've worked for a guy exactly like that, you know, and it's unnecessary. I mean, you know, it's real easy, man. The back end comes in, real transparent. You look at the numbers, or if it's a retail deal, whatever, you look at the numbers. Here's your commission, you know. I mean, it's really easy, man, you know. And he would argue with his crews. He ran off a lot of crews because, you know, they're arguing about $5 a square. You know what I mean? You're talking about a couple $100s. And that was frustrating. Then me bringing him ideas that, you know, I would say, hey, let's go digital. Let's do e-sign. Let's do financing. Let's do, you know, things that normal, good, successful companies are doing. And he's just old school. And his line was always, oh man, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that drives me crazy. I think that's not a good way to approach business. And I always like to picture a bunch of guys at Blockbuster Video in a boardroom saying that. And, you know, here comes Netflix. I mean, I think if it's not broke, brainstorm together on how to do it better, how to make a better customer experience all the time. I mean, why not? You know, and I just, instead of get stuck in a rut of, oh, this is how we do it. This is how my dad did it. This is how we've always done it. And just kind of stay there. You know, there's the new companies are always, I think the better, more successful companies are always thinking of little ways to do things better. I wanted to go totally paperless, totally digital, have all e-sign, be doing virtual sales via Zoom, just as a convenience for customers who wanted to do that. And this was pre-COVID, and he was like, that's crazy, you know. And then COVID hits, and I'm like, hey man, sure would be nice, you know, to be able to be set up to do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, now, so COVID happens, I'm doing 100% of the deals. I'm frustrated in the experience, not getting paid quick enough, not getting the support, not getting him buying into ideas, you know. And you don't have to do all my ideas, whatever. I'm just saying, like, hey man, like, the whole it's not broke, don't fix it thing, just, and that's the end of the discussion, is just not a way to, I never saw us getting much bigger than we were. You know, we're kind of just always going to be there then. We're always going to be that little small, which is fine. You know, we're doing a million in sales, you know, little company with a couple crews and a couple sales guys. But I never saw us expanding past that. So COVID happens. My phone is still ringing off the hook. It just it's like a time when people want to do projects. They're stuck at home. They're like, I've been meaning to get to my roof. And, I just was really surprised. And I have a lot of friends in different industries that were out of work. And I talked to my wife and I was like, babe, I mean, I think we need to go for this. I know it's a crazy time. And, but that's what's great about our country and what's great about this industry, that we can pick up and do that. And, the margins are good. Everybody needs a roof. You're always going to have retail deals, and you're always going to have insurance deals and storms, and it's fairly recession proof. And so talking it over with her, I was like, let's dive in full and let's do this ourselves. It's like one of those things, I don't want to speak bad about my boss, but you see enough guys doing it and being successful who maybe aren't the brightest or the hardest working, and they're making money, and you're like, and if that guy can do it, like, we can do this,
Well, let's pause right there, because what we're talking about is something that every effective sales guy has pondered. I mean, let's be honest. If you're an effective sales guy, let's say you're making 100, 150, 200 grand a year. You start to thinking, I'm doing a pretty dang good job. I'm making connections. I'm out driving around. I'm sweating through my shirt in the middle of August up doing a free inspection on a roof.
For sure.
And the owner just took a 2-hour lunch, and then left at 3, or whatever it might be. And that's not wrong. It's just, this is a dilemma that I feel like, and I just talked to, I was just talking to a owner of a big construction company out in Atlanta about this 2 days ago. And he trained up a sales guy, and the sales guy, and this is a company that's rocking and rolling. I mean, they're doing tens of millions in revenue. They do construction, they do roofing, and so forth. And he said one of his sales guys came to him in tears saying, man, I'm sorry, but I'm going to break off on my own. And meanwhile, he basically trained this guy, got him started. And a couple of years later, now he's literally set up shop down the street. Right. So this dilemma is a difficult one. And I think when I look back at your story, the first thing, there's so much to pull out of your story, because I go back to your first story you told about the bad experience where you kind of learned to do everything the wrong way. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times that's the norm. But that, to me, there's huge leadership implications from that. And that happens so often where you've got guys that end up starting their own roofing company. They're really good sales guys, but they're not great leaders. And they're not process driven. They don't have core values. They don't have a rock solid vision in place. They don't surround themselves with the right kind of people who they can run with their strengths, but where they're weak, they don't have people that are strong in those weaknesses. And that's just a story of business failure. I feel like we could do a whole podcast episode on that. But going back to kind of phase 2 of your story, where you're in this company now and you bring these ideas, the thing that comes to my mind is that book, Who Moved My Cheese? That's the whole point of the book, is that there's these guys in there, and it's that whole, if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality. And they get left behind because the cheese is getting moved, whether you want it to or not.
For sure.
And I think, what do you think is the biggest, and again, I don't want to make this about the previous owner, but just in general, what do you think is the biggest reason why I think there's a lot of guys that own roofing companies and their sales guys are dealing with this dilemma? So from a sales guy's perspective, we haven't gotten to the point to where you're owning TrueWorks. As a sales guy in that situation, what was your biggest, what do you wish would have happened in that situation?
I mean, so I think me seeing enthusiasm on his part to embrace change, to want to be better, and I feel like I'm looking at a guy who is comfortable, and that's it. And that's fine. It is. I mean, he's, probably making $300K a year, or whatever. I mean, he's making probably more than he thought he would in his life at some point. He's got a good little business. He's happy. He's comfortable, but there's no passion to want to grow past that. And that's really what I was looking for, is just that enthusiasm and passion to say, him coming to me saying, what can we do better? What can we do different? What can we do to take this to the next level? We're doing $1 million something a year in sales. Cool. What can we do to take this to 5? Because that's going to light a fire in me, the kind of guy that wants to go do his own thing. It's gonna, hey, this is not where you're gonna be the rest of your life. This is not where we're stopping. We have bigger dreams than this. And I think if you're always impressing that, and you're always throwing that, in your best sales guy's vision and heart, then that's going to really inspire. And I think that's probably what I wanted and lacked, is just being inspired, seeing a lack of passion.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because when I think as a sales guy, when you come to the owner of a company and you share this stuff, sometimes it can be tamped down, and sometimes it can be like, okay, well, tell me more. What do you have in mind? And I think that kind of leadership perspective, like you mentioned, when you have somebody that's doing something well, if you can pour gasoline on that fire, you're just going to make more money as the owner of the company anyway.
Right.
And it's so interesting, because I had the opposite when I went to Rain Tight General Contracting, that's owned by my buddy Miller Whedon, who's also co-founder of Roofing Mastery. I started approaching him about ideas for the company, because I have a very different background in business development and online marketing.
Right.
And so I'm immediately like, man, we could do this with the website. We can do this with review management system. We can do these things for business development and join these different conferences and associations in Dallas for real estate, for roofing, so forth. We can put these processes in. I'm an idea guy too. Like, I go kind of crazy with ideas. They're always coming in, right?
Right.
So I have to kind of dial it back a little bit.
Sure.
But he was so cool, because he was like, well, like, how would that work, and why would we want to do that? And I'd be like, I kind of had to sell him on it. Not hard, but I had to kind of be like, here's why I think it could be beneficial, and here's how hard I think it would be easier to be. Like, okay, well, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, fine, but go ahead and give it a shot. Well, it started working.
Right.
And then the next thing started working. And it's kind of cool, because it's lit him on fire. And now he's fired up about things that can happen with his company. So I had the opposite experience. But the difference is, I think, and I don't know how to answer this, but the deal is this problem is, you're going to face this, right?
Right.
You're the owner of TrueWorks now. And a few years from now, we're going to talk again, and you're going to be like, Dylan, what we talked about on that podcast in July of 2020, check it out, man. My number one sales guy just approached me about this.
Right.
When Miller hired me to be a sales guy for Rain Tight General Contracting, he said, look, man, you're going to be an effective sales guy. You like to study stuff. You're real creative. In about a year or two, you're gonna really start to plateau on what you know about this business. You're gonna keep learning and stuff, but like, you're gonna have everything you need to go start your own company. Yep. And he said, I am not gonna hold you back. Right. If you want to do that, I will actually help you. Like, Dallas is a huge market. We're never gonna run into each other. There's millions and millions of customers out here. Yep. So right away, I was like, wow, like, in a few years, I could start my own company and all this stuff. But I also thought, you know what? That also makes me want to be loyal to Miller in a way that I didn't before.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, I don't know the answer, but like, that made me want to be more loyal to him.
Yeah. I think it's a confidence thing. It's you have your insecure owner, comfortable, insecure, afraid of change, afraid of, and he's happy where he's at. And you have your owner who is embracing your ideas, embracing change. He's already telling you in 2 years, you're going to be able to go do your own thing. And that's awesome. That's where I want you to get. And I won't fight that. I won't hold you back. And that's just such an opposite way of approaching the inevitable. And, he's able to keep top level talent by being that way.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to keep talking about this. I have a feeling we'll get some comments on this one and some feedback from guys. It'll be interesting, because I think it's a dilemma that I'm sure some guys have figured out, but I think most haven't. So, okay. So that's kind of phase 1 and 2. You got into roofing. You had an experience where the company, and really it was a business failure. The company had to be kind of rescued financially. Then you got into a situation where you're being a sales guy that's very effective. You're coming with creative ideas. Those ideas aren't really acknowledged or whatever. So you think, gosh, I've really I don't want to butt heads with the owner, but I also can't stop thinking creatively and strategically. So you went to your wife in the midst of COVID-19 and you're like, I think we should start our own roofing company.
Yes. That's exactly right.
What did that
And
conversation look like? Was she excited? Was she like, what the heck are you thinking?
um I mean, I'm lucky, she's my business partner, co-owner, and life, I mean, partner. And she just says she believes in me and believes in us and says, let's do it. And that's really, I mean, we're both nervous, of course, we're both scared. Um, now it's weird. I mean, even though I was 100% sales commission, there's just something different about I could always go do that for another guy. And I was getting all my own leads for the most part, but there's just an added weight. It's hard so I know both of us are having roofing dreams, and sleepless nights. And it's very emotional. It's very, very tough. I'm coming home from work after long days, and my, our 1.5-year-old baby girl is here, and she has to say, hey, be here right now, in your mind, be here. She goes to sleep in an hour and a half, and then we'll talk about that and we'll work on that. And so she's been great about helping me with the company, but also, like, hey, we still have our family life as well, because I'm sure as anybody who started their own company, that's listening to the show understands, it will take everything. I mean, all of your mental capacities, all of your emotional energy, and all your hours in the day, just from a practical standpoint. So, and it has, but that's what's fun about it as well. The challenge. It's why not everybody does it, right? And it's what's exciting and it's what's fun. But I do have a great partner to be able to give me that support. And she's, helps me with a lot of things in the company, and then of course in our family. So it went good. She was like, let's do it. And so then it was, what do we, the name is really hard to come up with. Every name in the world has been taken, it seems like, and we didn't want to just be, so we came up with TrueWorks Roofing. The logo was a big deal for us. We worked with a company that helped us a lot. We actually did a contest on 99 Designs for a logo and paid like $1,600, and then ended up not liking what the result of that. And so then we went to a real company and said, hey, we need help. We really want something clean and nice. We wanted everything to be a little different than what we've seen before. So we don't have the little roof on our logo, because I was like, every roofing company on earth has the little roof, on top of with a pro roof, adjective underneath. So, and we tried to do that with everything. So our everyone does trucks. So I did a Sprinter van. People who do Sprinter vans have white ones. So I did black. A lot of people put, all kinds of information on their vans. And so I wanted to do real clean, super minimalist. So just things that we tried to do. We have a very lean budget, right? We're kind of all in as a family. We've set, we know how many roofs we have to sell. We can make it how many months, the company and personally, without selling one roof, and it's almost to the end of this year. And then we're like, okay, then we're done. And so we know how many per week we have to sell. We've set a budget, and our goals. And, now we're networking with different people that we know, real estate agents, interior designers. We started kind of white labeling essentially for some chimney cap companies. So there's companies in town that do animal, wildlife chimney caps, custom chimney caps.
Okay, hold on. Before we
Yeah.
gloss over what you just shared, some nuggets of gold. So
Okay.
I want to make sure everybody catches this. You started a company in Houston.
Yes,
That
sir.
is a very competitive market.
Cutthroat,
You
super
broke
competitive.
you broke off on your own. Yeah, there's huge companies out there.
Yep.
You broke off on your own and you said, we got to differentiate ourselves.
Right.
And if I get this straight, you've got a super clean looking logo.
Thank you.
You've got the shirts, you've got the TrueWorks Roofing name. You said everybody else is using trucks. That is absolutely true. I've got a lifted Toyota Tundra out there in the parking lot.
Yeah, for
And you
sure.
decided we're going to do Sprinter vans,
Yes.
which looks super sweet, by the way.
Yeah, it's a driving billboard.
Okay, so you did that. What else did you do to differentiate yourselves?
I mean, real little things, but our yard signs. So our logo goes at an angle. We cut the ends of our yard signs to look a little unique, and they look exactly like the logo. And then we did the same with our business cards. So some real small things like that. I mean, you know, purchased vanity number 713903 roof, just something to make us look a little bigger. I'm trying to say, hey, you know, we're not like trucking a truck, we would say, right? You know what I mean? We're trying to like look a little bigger than we are, which is something that, but still embrace the fact that we're small and new and sell that as a strength, right? So,
So you've
uh,
got the Sprinter vans, you've got a company logo, you got different yard signs. And this is the thing is, I mean, that's kind of like what Apple did. Apple was like, how can we make it as simple and as clean for the customer? Because we're selling something a lot of other companies are selling, mobile
yeah,
phones. How can we do it different? And your company does look different. Your website looks, you got your vans, you got you guys doing a house, you've got an amazing, you got a really clean video. You're doing
yeah,
all these things to set yourselves apart. And it makes a difference because we were just at a house yesterday in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Dallas. Okay. We roll up, we get out. I've got my Rain Tight General contracting shirt on. Miller has his on. We both have our hats on. We look clean. We look the same. We're saying the same things. We talk to this guy, and he starts sharing stuff about real estate.
mm-hmm,
Miller was way up in the air. I was holding the ladder, keeping him safe.
right, yeah,
Miller's up on the second story of this massive house, and so I'm just shooting the breeze with this homeowner, and we're talking about his house, and I'm commenting on the design of his house on the inside. We're just chit chatting, and we get to talking about business. Then he talks about him and a partner just bought 70 homes for rental properties. We're talking real estate, and then he says, "You know what? You guys look really professional. I think you guys are doing a great job. I've got another friend in this neighborhood that's got a leak on his roof. I'll tell you what. I'll just call him as soon as he gets down. I'll just call him right now and just hand the phone to you." And he
yeah.
said he
That's
had
good.
another roofer come out this week, and the guy showed up late. He looked
Mm-hmm,
rough.
yep,
He said he looked like he was just a guy with a truck,
right,
and then he like didn't communicate well. And he said now he's having a hard time getting calls back. And so
right,
what set us apart? Like we both could have done the exact same job, I'm sure.
yep.
But it's the packaging. The packaging and the communication is a difference maker.
It really is. Of course, you have to do great work. Of course, roofing done right is the best. But
Oh, absolutely.
this is a
Absolutely.
marketing play, you know? I mean, what's going to make us look different and make them buy us to begin with to know that we can put up a great roof? So, and some other little things. I mean, our crews, they all have matching shirts. Such a little thing, but it just separates you a little bit. I spent a lot of money on a catch-all system that one of your competitors in Dallas came up with and designed. And it's just it shows that you're protecting the home. It has a giant banner that says TrueWorks on, and we did a pop-up tent where our guys can come sit out under. Of course, it says it's black with our green logo. It says TrueWorks. It has the number, it has our website on it. And we're showing that we care about our guys. They come take little breaks there in this Texas heat. The catch-all is showing that we care about catching every nail. Just got a deal. We're in a really expensive, nice neighborhood. A guy comes up and says, and he won Yard of the Month, of course. And some people, I mean, they pay in these nicer homes, they're paying 10 grand for their flowers and landscaping easy. And this guy most definitely did. And it's about an 80 square house. And he said, I just love how you guys protect everything, the house, the plants, and, I want you to do my roof as well. And so that catch-all is expensive, and it just paid for itself in one deal, and it's just perception. It's just showing that we care just a little more about the little details even than our competitors, and another little way to stand out.
That's awesome. And it's clearly working. And so, okay, so now I didn't want to steal your thunder or cut you off with what you're about to share, but what are you are doing some unique things to build synergy with other business owners to create business for one another. So let's talk about that and the chimney caps and stuff, because the big thing is roofing leads, roofing leads, roofing leads. What are you
Yes.
doing to generate leads?
Right.
And
Right.
one of your marketing strategies is one of the more creative that I've heard recently. So talk about what you've done to generate partnerships and more business for your roofing company.
Yeah, absolutely. So the creativity comes out of necessity, right? I mean, we just don't have the money to do it the way everyone else is doing it. So we don't have a, 10K a month Facebook, or digital budget, right? So we do a clarity consult, and it's a week of hours of our target audience, and then who we want to be and the neighborhoods we want to go after specifically to really narrow down exactly who we want to advertise to. Then I say, okay, who's getting on more roofs than anybody, right? That's not a roofer. Well, your chimney cap. So the guys who own these wildlife removal and custom chimney cap companies, there's not a lot of them, and the ones that are good, I mean, you can count on both your hands. And so, and they're on. I mean, my chimney cap guy gets on 20 roofs a week, right? 20 roofs a week, and just for one company. And so I went and got him. I sat down with a few different business owners. I said, hey, I want to throw you leads. I want to throw you deals. I want to make you money. Then I want to come along with you, meet the homeowner. I'm not going to be salesy. I'm not going to push your deal out of the way, right? I'm not going to come in and I just want to be there. I want to ride along. So I printed double-sided business cards, free marketing material for them that they don't have to pay for, right? And their info on one side, TrueWorks Roofing on the other. And I have these guys, I'm teaching them how to identify hail damage, right? Now we're running Facebook ads for these guys, bringing the leads to us. So white labeling these deals and then saying, hey, I've got you a new lead. We're only doing it in certain neighborhoods though that we've already targeted, that is our, guy that we're going after, right? Guy or lady that we're going after. So we identify our target audience. We're saying, hey, because if you have a chimney leak or you have an animal in your chimney, that's urgent. You're not putting, COVID doesn't matter. You're not putting that off, right? You're calling right away. And if those are in high-end homes that we want to be in, high-end neighborhoods that we want to be in, we can advertise into those neighborhoods. We're getting calls for them, going along with them, and just saying, oh, hey, by the way, I'm also the owner of TrueWorks Roofing. If you ever need a roof, let us know. And so that's been successful so far. Partnering with real estate agents, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably already do, but has been successful as well. And the way I like to frame that and say it is, I talk to friends of mine who are real estate agents and I say, look, my goal is simple. I want to make you look like the hero. So you want to put yourself in their shoes, right? What do they want? They want to look like the hero to their clients so that they can get more referrals, more deals. And so I just do that. I mean, we have a real estate agent we just did a deal with. And in the proposal, we said, since you work with so-and-so, we know what you value. You value great communication. You value, and we know price is a factor for you since you're selling your home. So we've extended agent's name, friend, price to you, and so we're making it look like he's the hero. He's the guy who got the deal. And we CC him in the deal and he's involved in it. And he's just going to throw us more deals, right? Because of that. So that's worked for us. Working with an interior designer has worked for us well, partnering in that way. And then,
Okay, how
so
is working with an interior designer helping you guys?
yeah, so I have a couple friends that are in that industry and they're already in high-end homes. And, the subject of you're doing big remodel projects, the subject of the roof comes up, and they say, "Hey, I know a great roofer," and so and it's just something. I have their business cards. I recommend them. They have my business cards. They recommend me, and it's just something. We're in this together, right? So it's people who do good work and have stellar reputations that are in homes that we want to be in, and we're partnering together, essentially. So I'm enlisting them essentially as salespeople, and me for them as well. And I want to throw them deals as well. Then digitally, I mean, Nextdoor has been a big success for us so far. I
So
just
what do
kind
you
of,
guys, yeah, what do you guys do to generate activity on Nextdoor?
yeah, so right now we're sponsoring 10 different neighborhoods that we've identified that we want to be a part of. And then we, of course, you got to go claim your Nextdoor page, right? Most of your listeners probably have a Nextdoor page, and some of them might not even know it. So you want to go claim your page. You want to make your page look good, just like your website, look clean, have good photos of your company, people doing work. Then sponsor some neighborhoods. And then when you sponsor those neighborhoods, you get a certain number of posts that you can do per month that'll show up in those neighborhoods, right? So it won't just show up in your business area because we're paying to show up in others. And we've done things like create a poll, right? Do you hate it when roofers knock on your door? Yes. No, it doesn't bother me. No, that's how I got my new roof. And we're getting that poll that we did got a lot of responses. So trying to do creative things like that on Nextdoor. And that's where I've been asking people to leave us reviews so far. Just, it makes sense to me that that platform is going to be a big part of our future, because you want who your neighbor got, and it's like it's so much better to me than like a Home Advisor or an Angie's List, because it's actually your neighbor that's recommending you, and you share a lot of the same, you know, socio eco, like, you're on that same level. And when you say, hey man, it's like a yard sign, a digital yard sign, right? And yard signs work. I mean, they just do. And it's the same thing, but digitally. And so we found success with it. And I want to, Nextdoor is, they're not as ad friendly as like Facebook yet, but I think they'll continue to change. I think they'll continue to get there and offer us, the smaller guys, smaller player, more creative, better ways to advertise on their platform. They're going to go public at some point. More people will get exposure to them and begin to be on that platform. And I really think it's the future of home services, because people are on there all the time. Do you know a good roofer? And you get lots of comments on that. And so it's something, again, just another thing of like, all my competition's on Facebook, right? Doing Facebook ads. So we're going to do Nextdoor, you know what I mean? And so I'm just trying to continually think about little backdoor ways to get on roofs with other companies, white labeling for them, or other little niche ways that I can, take advantage of, where the marketing dollar might not be quite as much. The competition for attention might not be quite as high. And those are just some things we found some success with so far.
That's so good. I mean, we were in Highland Park here in Dallas last week, which is one of the wealthier, more affluent areas of Dallas, and we were up on two roofs in Highland Park in 1 week, and both of them came from Nextdoor recommendations. So,
Yep.
100% am a believer in that. Well, Joel, I mean, I think we need to have you back on in about a year and
Yeah.
kind of go do an update, like, okay, Joel's year-end report on what it's like to run your own roofing company. Because I think there's also a lot of sales guys out there who think I could do this, and man, it's not that easy.
It's
You have,
really,
you have. I looked at your LinkedIn. You've got years in business development and sales. You're also
yep.
very creative and entrepreneurial. So that's good. You can do it, and you've got some natural wiring, I think, that makes you more apt to do this kind of thing. but it'll be neat to see how your company grows over the next few years and how you're going to need an operations manager or a
Oh yeah.
whatever, or whatever, and a whatever. And so we want to be on that journey with you. But well, Joel, is there any parting piece of advice that you have from what you've learned so far with other roofing owners out there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an owner, embrace your top sales guys. Be passionate about their ideas, invest in them. If you think they might want to go do their own thing, just like your owner did to you, say, look, I know you're going to do that. I'm not going to hold you back. In fact, I want to invest in you. Let's do this together. If you really believe in them and you think that's going to end up bringing you a return. And then if you're a sales guy and you are struggling with an owner that is not responsive in that way and is holding you back, and you've considered, starting your own thing, I would just say to do it. I would say to make sure you have the right support, make sure you plan out every detail, make sure you have, I'm lucky to have my wife, but make sure you have somebody to help in this process. Hopefully a great friend or business partner you really trust, do a good contract, and things like that. Do all your due diligence, do it right. But mostly, don't be held back by an owner that doesn't share your same vision and doesn't want to go as far as you want to go, and go for it. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, I'd love to be back on the show in a couple of years. That's assuming, we made it, you know what I mean? So, which is no guarantee. It really is, it's tough, emotionally, like we don't know, right? We don't know what's going to happen in this environment, in this economy, and you don't know you're going to make it. You really don't. But we're going to give it our all. That's for sure. And we're going to try to do little things to separate ourselves. We're not going to be desperate for business. I've lost some deals already because we got undercut and underbid. And just because we're new, I'm nervous, we're insecure, whatever, I'm not going to join this race to the bottom to undercut everybody or cut quality or anything like that. We're going to do it the right way. And if we fail, we fail. But we're going to go with all our hearts, And so yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on your show and your time, and love your podcast, and love that some of the things we can talk about and do together in the future, and love what you're doing for the roofing industry. Definitely appreciate you.
Absolutely, Joel. Well, man, thank you so much for all the key insights and sharing your story. And thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.